Happy broccoli. She was chopping broccoli. Chopping broccoli. Alright, so I'm making the world's simplest dinner for a friend of mine tonight. So we're going to do steak, and we're going to do this kind of broccoli soup. And it's really good, and she's going to like it. So anyway, what I'm doing here is super simple. So this is the world's least ingredients that you'll ever put into a soup. So I just started the water, and I chopped up the broccoli. So the ingredients for this so-called soup, it's not what goes into it, it's how it's prepared, if that makes sense. So I'm putting in some salt. I'm just taking the top off so I can get more salt in there than what I need. About a tablespoon is what I dumped in there. So then we're going to do pepper. Same thing. So now our water's going, so the first thing we got to do is blanch the broccoli. So we're going to go ahead and throw this in here. Oh, COVID!
Pepper.
COVID!
Totally pepper.
You see how it's getting to this bright green? That's what we're looking for. So we want the super bright green to come in. Once it starts going brown, that means you've overcooked it. So at this point, we're ready to make the steak. The broccoli is pretty much done. So it's that bright green. It's been on here for about 3 minutes. I prefer lean meats over big, thicky, greasy ones. So this is just a London broil. So really, really lean. Just better for you if you're going to eat steak. So usually this is actually steak seasoning. You can buy this like Lowry's, or in this case, this is Fry's brand or Kroger food or whatever. It's basically pepper, paprika, different types of rock salt, and some garlic powder and onion powder. Really, really basic. So the other thing is soy sauce. This is key. So a little bit of soy sauce, and then from there, a little bit of seasoning. Pan's warming up. It's getting to the point to where it's pretty good, so we'll let that go, and then we'll go back to our broccoli here. So for the broccoli, we need a blender. I need a step ladder. Because we're going to go ahead and strain out some of this water. Alright, now we're just going to set that aside because we're going to add a little bit to it. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and take out just a few pieces because we need some texture in there. So we're just going to separate just a little bit for texture. Don't mind that. Shit ends up on the floor.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
They don't. Nobody sees it.
But I mean, this is bachelor life, so I'm used to that. So anyway, go ahead and give it a swirl. Now we can start dumping it into the blender. And as it is, go ahead and dump all of it in there. Make sure you get all of the big chunks. And we're going to go ahead and puree it here. Okay, and consistency-wise, it actually looks about right. You don't want to have too much water in there. Yeah, that's right. So this is what it looks like. So sloshing-wise, you don't want it to be too watery. So I think this is correct. So from here, we're going to go ahead and dump this. You don't need it. We got what we needed out of that. So that'll sit there for a second. Our pan now is ready to go for the steaks. So for the steaks, we're just going to go ahead in a dry pan and drop them in there. And then we're going to let this go. And I'll turn our pan on low here so it's not super loud. And then this is just going to cook while we make that. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and just chop up our little bits of broccoli here. That's probably So we're going to go ahead and dump that directly in there, and then we'll stir that in a little bit. That will give it texture. Now we just have to let the steak brown. Now the soup is pretty much done. There isn't a whole lot more that we have to do to it, but the steak is going to take, how do you like your steak?
Medium rare.
The steak is now browning on the side. And again, we're just below medium heat. So we don't want it too hot. Now the reason why we're not using oil changes the flavor of the steak. So we're not wanting to change the flavor of it. We want to keep the flavor of the meat. And usually, like, if you ever have those really lean pieces of meat and you discover that like the inside of the meat is better than the outside of the meat, it's because the oil that they use to cook it in. So in this case, we're oil free. You can actually do this with chicken, you can do it with fish, salmon, whatever you want. Ahi tuna, same concept. If you want to do a tuna sear, soy sauce and lemon pepper, no oils. Now, you're probably wondering how the hell this is going to work. So, you'll see it in just a second. COVID! She got corona! So for our soup, we're going to go ahead and give this just a little stir to get those chunks more in there. Yep, that is definitely broccoli.
You sure?
Yeah. Okay, so now our steak is starting to look pretty good. And we are 2 minutes in. I think. I wasn't looking at the clock. It's close. I'm not too worried about it. So, for the broccoli soup, so far we've used broccoli, water, salt, and pepper. There's 2 more ingredients that go into it. So this is the key ingredient right here. Goat cheese. And this is what changes everything. 2 sections, just cutting through the plastic because it's quick. And now, what I'm going to do, and this works better when it sits, so timing right with the steak is perfect. So all you do is you pour in a little bit of the soup, and we're going to go half of what we made. And then from here, we're just going to pull out the goat cheese and pop it in the middle. Like so. And so now, there's our goat cheese sitting in the soup. And we're going to go ahead and cover it with the rest of the broccoli that we just made. And what this is going to do is slowly melt that goat cheese. Let's flip this, and now look at what our steak is starting to look like.
Oh, yeah.
So that is pretty legit. So again, same thing, we got dry sides. We're going to go in, we're just going to drizzle in just a little bit of water, run that around the pan, and then we're going to rub the steak in what's left of it. And by the way, this does not burn to the pan when you do this because you're lifting all the caramelization. So cleaning the pan is very easy. A few little tomatoes here, 714. So our steak now has been on there for about 6 minutes, got 1 more minute to go. I'm going to pull out 2 reds, 2 yellows, and maybe a couple little ones too. We'll pull out 8 tomatoes, nothing crazy.
Crazy.
Nothing crazy. We'll set these aside over here on the dirty cutting board, which you don't have to look at, but
I feel like
because we just cut broccoli and steak on it. My cheap ass China. This is what happens when you're a bachelor. If you have a girlfriend come over that wants to throw shit at you, these plastic plates are the best. I'm breaking up the last bit of caramelization. So now I'm just flipping this over and we're making our own steak sauce.
Yum.
In this. So now this is ready to come off, and now we're going to plop it down here, and then we're going to take our sauce and just give it a little drizzle right over the top. Maybe just a little bit more. So we still got a hot pan going over here, The steak just came out of it. It's already seasoned. We don't have to do anything. So now we're just gonna slice these in half. And so from here, just drop these down, face down. Just like so. That was like way more than I wanted. I'm just gonna eat the rest of it.
You should.
You should try it.
I love these.
Tomatoes are bomb. So anyway, from here, again, we're gonna add a little bit of water. Give it a quick sear. I always like to just sear the bottom side. I don't really care about anything else. I just trying to stab this one to pull it up. I'm just getting it to brown just a touch. So anyway, from here, I think these are good enough. So we're going to go ahead and just drop these into our soup. And just some random plops of little browned cherryness over here. And now we are good to go. So vegetables and steak, the only way to do it. Let's do cheers. All right, so we're going to put a movie on, but before that, Oh, I love Sangiovese. I want your reaction.
Okay, what am I doing first? Steak or soup? This is really difficult. I want to go steak.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah. So do the steak first.
All right.
Okay, so this probably came out, yeah, medium rare.
Yeah, should be good. Very good.
Okay, so now I want you to try the soup. Now, what I want you to do first is in the soup, remember we put that huge clump of goat cheese in there. So yeah, you got to give it a quick stir.
Oh yeah.
And then move that around. Okay.
Marvelous. It smells so good. I like the little chunks in here too. That was smart. All right.
Like I said, it's all about the preparation.
Very good.
So anyway, there you go. So now we're going to watch Bill and Ted finally. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and subscribe to Davin's Random because this shit is random.
Did you really fill it up?
She killed it, so it didn't suck.